Generation Bank. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Dr Gibbs' question is that Basildon Council's draft local plan sought to build 16,000 new homes in the borough based on their objectively assessed need. At the last council meeting we heard that this number will be revised, but Council Leader Phil Turner said in relation to the proposed Dunton Gardens suburb development that he would be interested if anybody could say how we can get so many homes without using the green belt. The National Planning Policy Guidance clarifies that assessing need is just the first stage in developing a local plan. It explains that in the Strategic Housing Land Availability Assessment, the local authority can take account of any constraints such as green belt and infrastructure which indicate that development should be restricted. Why then does Basildon Council not use the green belt as a constraint in this way to reduce their housing target to the point where green belt does not need to be built on or redesignated in a green belt review? My answer is that the National Planning Practice Guidance was in fact issued by the government last summer, some 6 months after the council published its local plan Core Strategy Revised Preferred Options report for public consultation. Whilst it does not have the same status as the National Planning Policy Framework, it is just guidance and not policy. The Council, however, will need to consider it when formulating the next version of its local plan, which it aims to bring back to Cabinet and Council by the end of this year. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Dr Gibbs, have you got a supplementary for Councillor Moore?
Yes, I do. I thank Councillor Moore for that question. Although the PPG was introduced later, these measures were really already in the MPPF. In fact, where it says that one of the MPPF's core planning principles is to meet the objectively assessed need for housing, there are two things that it says unless, and one of these is unless there are constraints which can restrict the meeting that need. And there's a footnote that says that green belt is one of those possible constraints. So these things were already in the MPPF, and the PPG didn't really add very much to it. So my question then is, since he said that they will look back at that, does that mean we may now see that constraint being used for Basildon?
Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Planning practice guidance actually states that local planning authorities with green belts in their area should establish green belt boundaries in their local plans which set the framework for green belt settlement policy. Once established, green belt boundaries should only be altered in exceptional circumstances through the preparation or review of the local plan. So it is only through the local plan that green belts can be revised. And specifically in the case of Basildon, we have had advice from the planning inspectorate. If you take the case of Little Chalverton Hall, I quote the planning inspector who says, in order to meet housing need, it is likely that Basildon Council will have to release land from the green belt. Other cases, such as Leeds City Council, also had the same situation where the planning inspector recommended that to meet Leeds housing requirements, it is anticipated some land will need to be taken out of the green belt. So we will be reviewing that in the next iteration of the local plan, but I have to emphasise that the government's policy seems to be driven to the extent of releasing some green belt land to support your objectively assessed need for housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Richard Moore.